Right, Ionic equation. So if you take a reaction where you react a metal with a solution, so say you've got magnesium and you react it with copper sulfate solution, you'll end up making magnesium sulfate plus copper. Now we know this because we know that magnesium is more reactive than copper, and that's a very typical displacement reaction. Now we know that magnesium is in a solid state. Copper sulfate is copper sulfate solution, so that's an aqueous solution. Magnesium sulfate, the solution that you will make, will also be aqueous, and then the copper will get displaced, and that will be in the form of a solid. Now when you take this equation, what you can do is you can then look at what is happening in terms of ions and in terms of electrons and how electrons are moving around. The key thing here is you keep solid liquids and gases as they are. So in this case, magnesium is a solid, so that stays as magnesium. Copper sulfate is aqueous. So here what you need to do is you need to split the solution up into the ions that they exist in. So copper exists as a Cu2 plus ion, and sulfate exists as an SO4 minus ion. Okay, they're both aqueous, they're in the form of ion. And then here you've got magnesium sulfate. So magnesium is going to be Mg2 plus aqueous, and sulfate is SO4 minus aqueous. Copper is a solid, so that stays as copper solid. So all I've done is I have taken wherever there is an aqueous solution and split them up into their individual ions, and then left everything else as they are. So magnesium and copper, which are solid state, stay as they are. Then you need to look at which ions are not doing anything. So we can see that magnesium is becoming Mg2 plus, so there's something happening there. Cu2 plus is becoming Cu, so something is happening. SO4 minus becomes SO4 minus. So these two ions we call spectator ions. Now for GCSE, you don't necessarily need to know it in these words, spectator ions, but it's easy to understand what they're doing because they're not doing anything, they're just watching, hence the word spectator. And then you get rid of those, and once you've got rid of those, you rewrite your equation. So magnesium solid becomes magnesium solid reacts with Cu2 plus aqueous, becomes Mg2 plus aqueous, and Cu solid. Okay, so that's your ionic equation. Now you can then develop that further into looking at what is happening to magnesium on its own and what is happening to copper ion. So magnesium solid is becoming Mg2 plus, and Cu2 plus Aq is becoming Cu solid. So for magnesium to become magnesium 2 plus, it will need to lose 2 electrons. So magnesium will have lost 2 electrons, and these are your 2 electrons here. And for copper ion to become copper, it will need to gain 2 electrons, so we've got 2 electrons there. We know that oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. So oil rig, oxidation is the loss of electrons, so magnesium is losing electrons, so this is oxidation. And copper is gaining electrons because it's on the left hand side of the arrow, so we say that is reduction. So the first reaction is oxidation, that is reduction. And that is it. This is your ionic equation, which contains both of your reactants, and these are your individual half equations. Now this half equation and this is another half equation. Okay, that's it.